Hello, and welcome to Sestra-Tainment. I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you today in regards to everything entertainment. And guess what, everybody? It is our 150th episode. Yes, exactly. So, OMG. We are going to take time today to talk about the top, 10. We're going to try to get through 10. We'll see if we can get through 10. We're talkers, as you all know. So, but we're trying to get through the top 10 shows, situations, clips, whatever happened.
The top 10 highlights
of 2024. This is our last episode of the year, and we wanted to take that time to share with you all, our amazing fans, what stood out to us, what made us feel like, okay, this is what really was great about 2024 and things that we want to talk about, movies, shows, whatever the case may be. I'm going to start.
All right.
And I will start with what truly kicked off 2024.
Okay.
Cat Williams on Club Shay.
Oh, I had that mark too. Cat Williams,
on Club. So this can make it easier for us to get through all of them because we can talk about it forever. So, okay. So first of all, if you've been under a rock in 2024, then you may not know, but what we talked about, it was January 3rd that it happened where he was on, Club Shay, because by the 4th, everybody was talking about Cat Williams. And so, but basically he went on Shannon Sharp's show and they're, sipping some cognac and just having a conversation. And I will say before this, people were watching and listening to Club Shay, which is Shannon Sharp's podcast, but people weren't dialed in.
Yeah, no, because he was mainly talking about sports stuff and talking about Ocho Cinco.
Just meeting up with a bunch of people
and
just
doing talking
stuff.
about random stuff, but it was nothing that caught you like Cat Williams.
And since everybody is trying to get into Club Shay so they can have their conversation. So it's been Monique right after that. It's been Keith Lee. It's been everybody. It's everybody. So on that note, so Cat went on there and he basically unleashed everything that you can possibly think of about everybody in Hollywood that you could possibly think of. Everything from he called the things that were going to happen with Diddy before it happened with Diddy. I mean, those are the kind of things. He was actually mentioning, well, if you're at a Diddy party, you got to protect your booty hole or whatever it was.
But you know what else is so funny? When you go back and look at some of his stuff, when he was like, I see you. Looking at his stand-up comedy, he's like, do you not know I'm standing right here?
I see you. Yeah, exactly.
And he was talking about going to parties then and looking in different rooms and seeing stuff and being like, this is what's going on. Are those two men over there? Is that such and such over there? Oh, this is a famous person over here. All these people in situations. He also called out other comedians and he talked about wives and ugly faced wives. And he talked about with the comedians just not Mark Curry
being
stealing his stuff.
Who?
Mark Curry. He was talking about how Mark Curry,
I know Mark Curry.
But he was talking about Mark Curry and
I thought Mark Curry was his friend. And he was talking about Cedric stealing his stuff. I was like,
Cedric
wait a minute, hold up.
But no, he was talking about how Mark Curry is such a funny person.
Yeah,
and he was like, but then they did him wrong.
Yeah.
And then how people were stealing his jokes. Yeah, no, I got it mixed up.
No. Cedric, he was saying stole his stuff. And he was like, I did it first, talking about how there was the gangster sitting inside the UFO or whatever and, riding off. And then he did it talking about being in a Cadillac, but it was literally the same body movements that Cedric did after Cat Williams had done it. It was him talking about, basically everybody from Steve Harvey to Cedric. Did he throw Earthquake in there? I can't remember. He threw everybody in there. Lavelle, he threw, he just went on and on and on. And it was no apologies, no nothing. Now, for me personally, I knew he was telling the truth about everything that came out of his mouth when he said it, because number one, you had just had Cardi B go after Tasha K about saying things that was slander or libel or whatever regarding things that she did not actually do or say. And so therefore, for him to go on here, and Cardi B won. So therefore, for him to go on here and say all of these things and not a person after it came out said anything, like not a mumbling word. Nobody came after him. I mean, did you ever hear anybody come after him and like challenge him or say? I mean, people were like, "He's lying. He's just looking for attention."
Yeah, but ain't nobody say defamation of character.
Right, exactly. Nobody came after him and said, "No, you a liar and the truth ain't in you, and I'm going to come after you with everything legally that I can because blah blah blah." None of that happened. So because of that, I was like, "Yeah, he's telling the truth." And what I also found out about Cat at that point too was that he is a person who is extremely smart. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like he is someone who, when he was in school, like literally was so smart. He was in these, I forgot what the name of the M program was that he was in, Mafasta or something, whatever it's called. But it's for elite, extremely smart people. And he talks about all the books he's read and different things that he knows and all that. Like he is extremely smart. So in the last 11 months on YouTube, this video has been watched 86 million times.
Oh, I believe it, yeah.
86 million times. And some of it was probably people who watched it more than once to make sure they ain't missed nothing.
Oh, yeah, because you had to, because it's pretty long.
It is long. It's almost 3 hours long. So you had to really pay a lot of attention to what was going on. It has 1.7 million likes and 234,000 comments. And it's like still going. Like somebody's put on here already in the comments, who's going to be here in 2025 looking at this again?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What is going to happen? So is Kat going to come back for another episode?
I told you it was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he said some stuff. Yeah. And so, but if he comes back in 2025 and says, okay, this is what I'm going to call, like, he was basically like, look, I'm not even playing with y'all. This is some serious stuff. This is what I got to say, and the stuff's going to hit the fan. How he knew what was going to happen for 2024, I have no idea.
But then also the fact that he was just sitting there and drinking his drink with his pinky out and was like, test me if you want to. Yeah.
And just the stuff he would say, like about Jonathan Majors, and when you ever see an ugly guy, but he's going to be like the face of blah, blah, blah. Like, and basically he had backers behind him who was making him to be this particular person. And then as soon as you do something stupid, then they're all going to leave you and you're going to be scrambling, trying to figure out how to make a living, which is pretty much where he is right now.
You have to marry Megan Good.
And you have to marry Megan Good. Yeah. To keep yourself good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's interesting. And I'm looking at a comment now. Who's here after the Jay-Z news? Because now we've had that Jay-Z news that's come out, and so therefore it's like.
Well, now they're trying to say they're talking about Jay-Z and some other people that were like in that time. Like, so I guess it was different people from Bad Boy, different people from Rockefeller, different people from Terror Squad.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it was like. The in people back then,
all of them were
just pedophiles and closeted gays and sexual deviants. I guess I don't know how to say.
And either they were or they were made to feel like they had to be in order to fit into the mold of what this particular dynamic in the music industry does to people, you know. So it's like, do you want to be famous or not? Because if you want to be famous, then you better get in there and do X, Y, and Z. Do you want to, you know? So it could be that. It could be that it was already what was inside them.
How bad do you want it?
Right, exactly. So a lot of names came out from this, and Cat's still standing. So sold out tours and everything.
Well, it was so funny when he started talking about Steve Harvey hairline. He said, "I know it was a wig back then. I knew it was a toupee." Oh man.
Yeah. So anything else that you had about that interview that I didn't
how
cover?
much he hated how. Black comedians had to be in a dress in order to make it. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you ain't gonna catch me in a dress. Yeah. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not selling out. Like, there's no reason for me to do that.
And when you think about it, every Black comic has mainly had to put on a dress at some point in their career.
Yeah, but it's like, why? But I mean, if you look at our history of all of the actors that were back in, what's his name? Shakespeare's days, they were all men.
Yeah. That's true.
It was all men.
Mm-hmm. So somebody had to put on the dress.
Yeah, so somebody got put on the dress. So I guess it's like, he's like, yeah, that's where I draw the line. I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I had. So the Cat Williams interview. What do you have, Sis?
I got the Diddy and Cassie video that popped out in May.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, the whole thing that the hotel had released, the video of her trying to leave the hotel and her running down the hallway with her bags, like you see her pushing the button, looking down the hallway, trying to see if he's coming, and then him coming and then grabbing her. Like, does he kick her or hit her or something like that?
Yeah, he does everything.
Yeah, he kicks her, he hits her, and then he grabs her by her hair. Well, I don't know if it was by her hair or by the jacket. I'm guessing it was both. Probably both. Yeah. And then dragged her back into the room. Like, bro. And then he had to make that video. I'm truly sorry for everything that happened and blah 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 blah. Trying to save face, and then after that, everybody was like, "Oh, well, I'm sure she signed the NDA."
Yeah.
I can go ahead and talk to you because the NDA don't have nothing to do with the laws that there are for what you were doing to people. Yeah. So more people started to come out the woodwork talking about that, and now I don't even know what's going on with Diddy. Does anybody know?
I haven't heard anything of late. I know that when I watched that special, even after he was arrested, where they were talking about how if Diddy had it to do over again, he probably would have just went ahead and paid her to keep everything hush-hush the whole time versus saying, I ain't paying you however much, letting her start saying what was going on, and then pay her.
Oh, let me go ahead and get you
Let me shut you up now. Because then everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute. Why you need to shut her up now when you didn't shut her up before? You were testing her to see if she would actually say anything. And then when she did, you realize, well, wait a minute, this is sounding really bad. And he probably was arrogant enough to think, well, people will hear her and they won't believe her. So then if they hear, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's me. I'm Diddy.
Right. I'm Diddy.
He's like OJ. It's me. I'm OJ.
Yeah. And then once he realized that people were like, ooh, turning against him, he's like, all right, well, let me go ahead and pay her to shut her up. And in the process, though, that opened up, like you said, the door for all these other people to say, you know what? She spoke out. I'm going to need to speak out because this is what happened to me. And now her story sounds vaguely familiar to what I had to deal with. So now I know I wasn't crazy. Yeah. And it strengthened numbers and all those kind of things. And it's good that it all came out.
All of them coming out is definitely a good thing because nobody should ever go through life doing whatever they want and have no repercussions.
Yep. And the part that frustrated me with the whole thing, too, is women who don't support women. You don't realize how many women are out here who are still like, but he's okay. And R. Kelly, like, I don't even know why y'all are coming after our strong black men and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, what about the black men who are coming after our strong black women?
Yeah, but it's like you're not thinking about that.
No, because they're just like, no, why are we always like, other people will allow their culture to get away with these things. Look how long Harvey Weinstein got away with it. Why would that make it good?
Why are we trying to be like everybody else?
And why are we just trying to say, put it behind the scenes and, take care of it, quote unquote, in-house as opposed to putting it out in the street?
We've done that for too long. We've done that for too long.
It's crazy to me how many women are saying that kind of stuff.
Africa. We don't need to do that no more.
And when I'm saying the people who are saying it, like literally 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I happened to be scrolling through TikTok and there was this group of people all in the little teeny boxes talking, and it was women and men in there. But I would say 60% of the people in the boxes were all for Diddy. Like, this is going against him, and I just don't understand. And what about this, and what about that, and da-da-da. And the women, I just don't get it. I mean, him and R. Kelly all being in da-da-da, and we should be that. And I was just sitting there and then somebody was finally like trying to help them to understand, like, no, you need to understand. They're like, well, these women shouldn't have waited so long. They should have done da-da-da-da. And it was like,
it's like if you got somebody, if you were trying to leave somebody and they beat you in the hallway and drag you back to the room, how are you just going to leave?
Well, they're not talking talking about her. They're talking about the other.
All the sexual allegations. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those were children.
And you can't have his worst day be the thing that he's I was just sitting there.
But how many worst days do you have?
Y'all are crazy. And all the boxes were taken in. I didn't know enough about everything to be able to intelligently speak to it from a perspective of, let me go ahead and jump in here and correct these folks. But the woman who was in there,
like, y'all are dumb. And then pop back out.
The woman who was in there was really good at sharing the information and almost sounded like she had inside knowledge to certain people who she either knew or had seen their stories or read up on things. And she was trying her best. It was like two women who were really trying their best. And it was like just too many of them. And everybody was just coming back with another jab and nope and da da da. And I was
But
just
then also
wow,
it's like,
terrible.
Do these people really think that, or are they trying to do this for...
No, these people on this really thought,
because some people
he needs to be out.
Yeah, but some people will do that just because they want to be against everybody else.
That's
like
true.
a Charlemagne the God. It's like, I know what you're saying, but I'm just still going to rebut it because of the fact that I want to get under your skin just to see, how you're going to react.
I just want to be playing devil's advocate. Yeah.
I'll tell you something about Charlemagne. He is the most healed, unhealed individual I've ever met in my life.
I might need an explanation on that.
Like he's healed from the things that he used to do when he was younger.
Okay.
But now he's still healed. He still talks about, mental health and all this other stuff like that. But then also if somebody comes like onto the Breakfast Club and has something to say, he's going to be like, he's like a lawyer. He's like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but I'm going to say this. And what are you going to say back? But then you just said blah, 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 blah. So he tried to get a rise out of you. Yeah, he
tries to get a rise out of
people. But I
guess
that's for radio. That's the thing that, sells for the radio. You got to have a little bit of drama.
A little drama. But
that's what I had
in my life.
Diddy and Cassie happened. It's crazy.
Okay.
Now Diddy's just a downfall of Diddy.
Yeah. All right. Well, what I have next is the movie Rustin.
Oh, yeah, Rustin.
So I wanted to talk about Rustin #1 because one of my besties, Toby, a.k.a. Baby Bones.
Shout out to Baby Bones.
Was in the movie. She actually had some... cameos in the background and all that kind of stuff as she was in there as an extra, which was really exciting. It had Coleman Domingo in the movie and he played Rustin. And for the most part, it was a really good movie because it told the story of behind the scenes of the March on Washington, which a lot of people did not know that he was the person who helped to pull all of that together, to working against... with and against the government, I guess you could say, with and against the police officers who needed to be able to protect people while they were out there, knowing that it could have been something that anything could have popped off because of the fact that you were having all of these African Americans walking, on Washington and listening to Martin Luther King Jr. speak
but then he also knew that, hey, these guys that are the workers, if we pull them in as well, then that's going to make it even more, it's going to make it more powerful. Right. So it's like we can bring this together and make this all about rights in general.
And realizing that you have to bring in people who are not African American to help build this up as well.
Exactly.
So we need buses. We need people who are going to be handing out flyers to other cultures and other races and things of that nature. And how do we get all of this additional support? So getting a seat at those tables as well was really important because especially back then, being an African American person trying to get justice, who cared? You know what I mean? You had to find those that did and were willing to stand up for you because they then could be targeted as well. So it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. I didn't, like I said, know his story. I really was planning to only watch it because my friend was in it. Yeah. And I didn't care if it was good or bad. I was totally look, I'm supporting my friend. What? Yeah. And then I was just pleasantly surprised, halfway through, not even halfway through, probably 20 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh, this is actually good.
Yeah, really good.
I just was planning to support her. So then when I was like, oh, and it's good too, this is amazing. So I really did like it. I was used to seeing Coleman Domingo in Jerk kind of characters. Like that's just where he had been from The Walking Dead and things like that I had seen. And so for him to be someone who in this movie was trying to more so pull people together and create a community and show more of his vulnerable side as an actor, as opposed to the side that was more like, I'm going to screw you over every way possible. Let me win you over so that I can screw you over, was his previous character. And so based on that, I was like, oh, I like that I'm seeing various facets of his.
He's not typecast.
No, not at all. So, but that's what I had. Rustin as my second choice.
All right.
Yeah. So, and that was on Netflix. So if anyone wants to watch that, you can watch that on Netflix.
Okay. I want to talk about Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. Yeah. That was a wild show. They talk about gender discrimination. They talk about the toxic workplace. How the lady writers were just like, they loved the job, but they hated that they had to share, like the pay was messed up. So it was like, you all have to share one salary if all of y'all are going to stay here. That's jacked up. Yeah. And then how the guy, I can't remember his first name, but Schneider, how he was misogynistic and kept having degrading jokes. But these are all children. Exactly. But you're saying this stuff too, making them wear certain kinds of clothes that look kind of like a sexual innuendo clothes. It's supposed to be noses all over you, but it looks like penises all over you. Things like that. The weird things that he did with some of the children, that some of them were like, we knew that something happened with this person because they were always together. And then that person started to change drastically after they started hanging out with them. How he was just basically like a creep. The guy was just a creep.
Has anybody seen him or knows what's going on with him since this came out?
I don't think anybody cares.
They need to care.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
if they care about Diddy, they need to care about him too, because he was doing some stuff.
I think he went to prison. I think at the end of it, I think they said that he went to jail or something like that.
I remember the guy from that 70s show went to prison.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I don't know. Yeah.
That was his name, Dan Schneider.
Yeah, I'll look him up.
But yeah, he would always make dirty jokes and stuff like that. And then when people pointed out, he'd be like, "Oh no, I mean, I was just playing around. Why are you so testy? Like, you can't laugh and have fun at work."
It's all the gaslighting.
Just gaslighting. And then like how the kids that are now older look back and see all the nasty and perverted things that they had to do,
and they had no idea.
But they didn't know anything about it because they were kids. But then they're like also sometimes they were like, we can't say no, because if we say no, then what happens? Like, we're not going to be in television. This is something that we want to do. So like how some of the parents, one lady, Tracy Brown, how she was like, "No, I'm pulling my kid out." She was there for everything. It was like, "No, my child's not going to have a chaperone. I'm going to be my child's chaperone. This is all the information I'm going to have. Like, I'm not doing anything without my child being right there. Like, my child, if they have to go to the bathroom, I'll stand outside and wait for them. That's fine, no problem. But nobody's getting alone time with my child. My child is not going to be wearing this. My child's not going to be saying this, not going to be doing this. Nothing like that." And then also some racist sketches. The multiple child predators that work for the shows.
That's scary.
Oh, man, yeah, it was so bad. But, just... the provocative photos of the children in sexual positions that some of the guys that actually worked on the show closely with the children had on their laptops and like their computers.
That's crazy.
And their email, all things like that. And it's just sad that there's stuff like that is even happening and that was going on. It's like children are so innocent, but everybody wants to take away their innocence. So that was something that I was like, oh wow, this is a very deep thing. So, but yeah, that's what I had for that one, and that is called The Quiet on Set: The Dark Side of Kids TV television.
That does sound terrible.
Yeah. So what else do you have, sis?
All right. So I have Feud. the Capote, the Swans, I guess is what it's called. Swans.
Was Feud.
Capote versus the Swans. Yeah, that's what it was.
Feud, Capote versus the Swans.
Yes. And so it was good, in my opinion. I don't know if everybody felt that it was. I had watched Truman Capote movies. I swear, I feel like I've watched like 2 other ones before watching this show. Yeah. Because who was the guy who played him, and he's passed away.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yes.
Why did that name just pop in my head?
Oh, but I love it.
But I knew who it was.
So thank you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
And so, but basically, the cast had, Jessica, well, not Jessica Lange on this one. This was like Demi Moore.
Yeah, that was Demi Moore, Callista Flockhart.
Yes.
I can't think of the other lady.
Diane Lane.
What was the name
it
of the
was
Chloe, yeah.
Savigny, something like that. Savigny, something like that. Yeah, I know I can't say it.
Yeah.
It had so many people. I think this one had Stanley Tucci in it. It had I'm trying to find the guy who played Capote. Oh, Tom Hollander.
Yeah.
So yeah, which he's like, yeah, people call me Tom Holland, and it's like, no, Tom Hollander.
Yeah, that's a different guy.
Yeah, totally different actor. Right, exactly. He said sometimes he shows up for interviews, and people are like, oh yeah, you. Not the other one.
Sorry. We got to mix up. Exactly. But if you still want to read, go ahead. You're not getting it.
No. It's more like coming, like for it. He was making it sound like when I go to show up for interviews, like on Jimmy Fallon or something like that. They're just like, let's just swipe out our notes because we thought we had Holland, not Hollander. But anyway, so it was such a good movie. So it was really about the different women that were around Truman. I say movie show, but it was about the different women who were around Truman Capote. He was the best friend, so to speak, with Slim, I think was her name, right?
Slim, yeah.
And so he and her were like that was Diane Lane. Yeah, and they were thick as thieves. Like they were. I mean, everything that happened, he would like be laying in the bed with her. They'd be talking.
But then he would also put all her business out there.
Well, he ended up doing that, and then all of a sudden she was like, "Wait a minute, what is going on?"
Why would you do that?
So
he's like, "Well, it just sounds when I talk like this and do these things, so I have to tell everyone."
Yes, and that was his thing. He was like, yes, we are friends, but my journalistic hat is always on. And he thought his friends just knew that, and anything that they were sharing, basically, he's like, it's fair game. You shared it.
Yeah. You should have said off the record.
Yeah, and even if they did, I don't think he would care. I think that was just how he was wired, was like, and then was very distraught that after he took her personal private information, I mean, things about affairs, things about whatever, and then put it out there for everybody to read, but just didn't put the name, which everybody could put together what the names were, because they knew who he was hanging out with at the different clubs and restaurants and all of that stuff. It was like the
senator that blah, 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 and his wife that blah, 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 blah.
And everybody's like, yeah, we know
found some woman in the bed and blah, 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 blah. So it's like,
you can kind of put all this together. But then he was offended that they got upset that he did it. And he's like, but you know who I am. Like, this is me.
He's a narcissist. Yeah.
Exactly. And it was just so weird to me that somebody could be wired in such a way that they're like, you're sharing a secret with me, but you know that I'm a journalist. So because I'm a journalist, you should know that you're not going to get any special treatment because of the fact that I have to report
I think that he just used being a journalist as his scapegoat, because I feel like he was falling off. He was a massive alcoholic, and he had to have something to catch people's attention. And I hang out with the richest women.
Yeah.
And what would be better than to, expose their dirty laundry.
Exactly.
And now I'm back on top, baby, because, I'm telling you everything that happened. The lady who killed herself and why she killed herself and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah. You had Naomi Watts in it as well as Babe. Yeah. So she was in it. Chloe was CZ Lee. Callista was Lee Radswell. So yeah, it was amazing in regards to the cast and the women. I mean, they acted perfectly.
Yeah, they did great. Yeah,
even Demi Moore's character was like an outcast because she had supposedly killed her husband or whatever. And so everybody was like, we're not really hanging with her. But then the way that she would act when she was in their presence and around them and stuff, you could just feel that anguish and that pain. And then when they had that party and she was invited with her son, like there was a whole situation there. So, but no, I just thought that it was really, really good. And I liked both of the feuds. I liked the Betty Davis.
Oh, I like the Betty. I like that one
Joan
better.
Crawford
I
one
like that
too.
one better.
But I don't know. I like them both.
Yeah, I like that one better. Well, maybe just because I am a huge Jessica Lange fan.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Jessica Lange is amazing. And with all her American Horror Stories.
And the thing is, like, she's like, I've retired. And then it's like, Ryan Murphy's like, that's what you thought. But look, here's the script.
The next script.
And this is when we're going to start, go ahead rolling. So,
I love that Ryan Murphy has brought so many people back into our view because like Jessica Lange, I don't even know the last time I saw her before this. I don't know when Susan Sarandon, was, I mean, she's been in things, but I don't know if it's been like front and center versus playing somebody's grandma. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
She hasn't been the star. She's been the supporting actress.
Exactly. And then to know like Demi Moore. When was the last time I saw Demi Moore act for anything?
Last time she shaved her head on that movie. No,
G.I. Jane. Oh my God. And then, but knowing also, like for example, that when I'm looking at a new show right now called The Landman. That show, she's in there as well. Oh, okay. And I'm like, Demi Moore, but she's playing like such a like minuscule role. Oh, okay, yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, it has to be things like this that made somebody think, who could play oil tycoon's wife who swims and has a bouffant hairstyle and is very pristine and beautiful all day long? Demi Moore. So let's go ahead and put her in
How
here.
He pulled out Callista Flockhart? I ain't seen her since Ally McBeal.
I know.
It was like Harrison Ford was like, no, you're mine now, so you can't be out in public.
Molly Ringwald.
I
forgot to mention her. She was in it, and she was like, she and CZ never left really his side, Capote's side. They were always, friendly to him, and even though for CZ, he put her business out there too, but not as bad.
Yeah, but I think they was like, well, we already know, so now we give him the information we want him to put out, and
but at the same time,
we can make it better if we say however we want to say it. But then either way, it still looks bad on them. But they were still his friends.
It was so, to me, it was really good because it just showed, and maybe it's the psychology major in me, it just showed a difference in human dynamics. Okay, yeah. And how people think and how people can sometimes forgive and forget and other people never will.
Yeah, exactly.
And, and a lot of times they say when you don't forgive, that's not on them, that's on you. Yeah. Like you need to forgive so that they don't have that rent-free space in your brain all the time, So just forgive. And keep it moving, like, okay, because they're living their life. They could care less that they screwed you over and you're holding on to this. And so, and I do feel like poor Slim, that was kind of what it was with her, was that she just couldn't let it go. Yeah, and she held on to it until her dying day. Yeah. And, that was that. So, but anyway, I enjoyed that. So that was Feud, and it was Capote versus the Swans. All right. So what you got, sis?
I want to talk about Bob Marley, One Love.
One Love.
So watching that, I can't remember what was on. I think it might have been MGM, I believe it was.
It might have been.
But yeah, it's the story of how Bob Marley just basically came up. How because he had locks, then it was like Rasta, and if you're Rasta, then you're a bad person. You're like a gangster. Mm-hmm. But they were like, we're just actually promoting love and peace and harmony, and the rights for people, and that's the main thing. But yeah, like how it goes into about his wife. Never knew his wife got shot in the head.
I didn't know that either.
Wife got shot in the head. Yeah, and I was like, what? She got shot in the head, and she lived. And she lived. Him being shot, people running up into his house and shooting him. Him still going on with his concert and explaining, to people everything that he's been going through and how they were telling him, hey, don't do your concert. He was like, no, I'm still going to do it. I don't care if people are trying to kill me or not. If they do, they do, but I'm still going to get this message out. Yep. Which was very deep. How much he loved his kids, how he kept playing soccer with his kids all the time. Just spent time with them. Loved on him, was definitely a great father. And then also how his band and everything was with him and their love that they had for him. And, a lot of stuff when it comes to, sometimes if you're a famous person or you're starting to become a famous person, people will switch on you. Yeah. But then there were people who were always like by his side. But yeah, he definitely did do a lot of stuff. Talks about how he starts to do his traveling, when he had the Exodus album and he like travels the world, and that just changes his whole, view on life and like, realizing that it's not just where I'm at, it's everywhere. Everywhere it has something going on, and me being me can be the catalyst to go ahead and change the world. And then the issue with his toe infection and stuff like that. Yeah, his toe got super infected, and then that turned into cancer, and that was just like the stuff that.
Yeah, it's like, and he was young.
Yeah, he died at 36.
That's crazy.
36 years
old. But made such an impact in such a short period of time.
In such a short period of time. Because, think about it. Like, you probably really don't know anything about the world and stuff until, like, probably your 20s. And you're just like, oh, well. This is what's happening. And, and then that seeing the right and wrong and being able to go ahead and say, I have a platform, so I'm going to go ahead and say, like, this is what we need to do, and this is how we need to do it. We all need to come together, love on each other, no hate, peace, not war, things like that. Yeah. So I thought that was a really, really good movie. For it to be a movie about somebody's life, because I never knew a lot about his life as far as, like, the toe infection that turned into cancer.
No.
I never knew that.
And how does a toe infection? Who knew that an infection could do that?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly, interesting.
But yeah, so that's what I had.
Okay, right. There you go. And where can people? Or you said you thought it was MGM Plus.
It was MGM Plus. Yeah, I believe. I didn't have it written down.
No, it's fine. No worries.
But I can type it in really quick.
All you have to do is go to your Fire Stick and say whatever the name of it. One Love. Bob Marley.
Yes, MGM.
MGM. Okay, yes. Got it. All right, perfect. So I actually had next how music got free.
Okay.
Because I was really fascinated by that story. And it just really stood out to me that this guy, Del Glover, was working in a CD factory in like North Carolina, a small town. And because of the fact that he had access to the masters of certain records, that he could work with internet pirates, take the masters, because nobody was even thinking of any of this stuff. So he could steal the masters, have that actually go to an internet pirate, have that pirate download the movie, put it on an MP3. This was before anybody even knew that you could quote unquote stream music.
Yeah, exactly.
And that music could come out either right when or right before they actually, and it usually was right before, the actual album would drop. And people would already have it. And it drove the industry insane because they were like, how is this happening? What's going on? What is happening with all of this? And just knowing that this person, like, he was already saying, like, oh, yeah, all my coworkers, everybody has CDs in their house, like, of music that was coming out, but not the masters, but just, like, oh, you're working on CDs. They didn't check you when you left the building. So you could take, oh, the new Lauryn Hill's coming out. All right, let me put this in my pocket, and then I can take it home. About yourself? No, I did not do that. I did not. I ended up being given a box of CDs.
Lauryn Hill. Yeah.
Yes, of Lauryn Hill CDs. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, by the way. And so I was able to have them.
Do you have any that aren't open? Because they're probably might be worth some money.
No, I don't think so. And I gave some away. I did.
But if you just happen to have one that is not open. You need to hold on to that thing. Put it in a safe, fireproof safe. Yeah. And that thing will be worth millions.
It probably would be worth a lot. Yeah. It's like to have an unwrapped Thriller album.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
But you know what? That was the thing. I did not want to unwrap my Thriller album. Oh, okay, I knew it at the time. I didn't want to unwrap it. Yeah. So therefore, and the Michael Jackson doll. Yeah. That had like the Thriller outfit on. Yeah. So it was the Thriller red.
The glove and the microphone.
Yeah. And so, but somehow it got unwrapped. I still to this day don't know.
I don't know about the record, but I know I definitely played with that doll and put it back. But this was after you had already gone to college. You were already in college.
So all my millions from my lovely sister, they all got taken away from me. That was just
the doll. I don't know about everything else.
Yes. All I know is that, I mean, I may have caved and opened the record. I'm not sure. But I know that I was, like, once it was opened, I was so gentle. Like I still have never played that Michael Jackson record on my.
You don't want to scratch it up.
No, I have never played it, and even like the casing of the, because like all the words were on the sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
And so anyway, I'm getting distracted. Okay, so back to this. So how music got free. So basically, what he was saying is everybody would just have CDs around the house and all this kind of stuff, and so I guess they didn't really feel like it was that big of a deal. And you're going to pay me money for me to give you this, and they'll get it ahead of time. And so it used to be that like music would come out on Thursdays. Then they were like, we have to jump it up to Tuesdays because they're releasing it on Wednesdays so that it can be out the day before we're actually going to do it. And then the Tuesdays weren't going to work because then, we'll just move it to Mondays and make it, come out earlier then. And the whole Napster side of everything and how people started coming after Napster for releasing the music early, and people who even downloaded Napster.
Oh, yeah.
Because all those people, I mean, I remember there was a commercial one time that was like
piracy.
Yeah, and they were just like, I got arrested because they showed up at my door because I had downloaded.
I don't even know if those were real, if they just made those so they could stop people from doing it. Because I mean, like, the thing is like once I downloaded, how do you, like, I guess you would have to go through my phone line.
It's an IP address. It would be IP address.
But was it an IP address when it was dial-up?
I guess it would be. Yeah,
would just be your phone line.
That's probably even easier to check because of the fact that it was through your AOL.
Yeah, phone line. Yeah.
So as opposed to now with your laptop, you could be at Starbucks, you could be at home, you could be anywhere. You could be in Mexico and downloading stuff. So but they had so many people as a part of this documentary from Eminem talking about how it impacted him and how frustrated he was with it at first. It's weird how it was something that everybody was so against, the streaming, and now it's the only thing you have the option to have. You know what I mean?
The people, the industry was against the streaming because of the fact that they didn't know how it was going to be monetized.
Right. And that's what they cared about. Yeah.
It was like all these streams, but like, how do we know how many times somebody's streaming it? Who is counting this?
Yes.
And then how much am I getting paid from this? Because I know that if somebody buys my album or my CD, my tape, my whatever, I know that money is coming to me. But if they're just downloading something,
it's just out it's not even tangible. So how does that even work? Yeah. Right. And then when the iPod came out and how that impacted everything.
And the Zune. You remember the Zune?
I do not remember
Zune. Zune was I think it was Zune first, and then it was the
iPod?
The iPod.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Zune was Windows.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was the Windows player.
But they didn't have U2 doing their videos, so therefore it went under.
Basically. Well, I mean,
I still remember.
But that's when Apple was starting to get big. Apple was getting big like in the late 90s and stuff like that. So therefore, it's like, now we have all these streams, so now just make something. And then people are going to buy and go crazy. So now that's all they're doing. It's like, what are people doing a lot of? Okay, let's make this and make people go crazy.
Buy that little iPod thing. And I mean, it was a big little brick.
The little click one. You used to remember the click one? Yeah,
that was the later versions. But that first one, and I just remember the video with the rolling around, circle thing. And I remembered you would have to plug it in and have your headphones attached to it. Because that took over from the walkie-talkie. I mean, from the Walkman. So you didn't have the Walkman anymore, the Discman, all of those things. Well, because it's kind of both of them were still being sold, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you kind of moved over from Walkman to Discman to iPod, and then which was a streaming and downloading.
Yeah, it was not streaming; it was just downloading.
Yeah, it was downloading, right? So you had to download, which then evolved to streaming to where we are now. So it's kind of crazy that all of this stuff evolved solely because a guy was working in a factory and helped some pirates.
He could be like, you see this? I did this.
Yeah, I did this. He's like, I should be getting a cut.
Yeah, it's like, you know how you can just go to your phone and push play?
Yeah.
I started that.
I started that, little me. So, but they had Method Man in it, Eminem, Timbaland, Roxy, who used to be on 106 and Park. It was just a ton of people in here that were all talking about their experience and living through it as an entertainer or someone talking about entertainment during that time and how much everybody hated it, but then eventually came around to it and just realized. And honestly, anybody who didn't was going to get lost and left by the wayside. So you kind of had to. Exactly. The technology, and that's what's still going on today. Yeah. When the technology is there, you have to get on that train. Or you're going to be like Motorola, who just, you know, they still got something out there, but it ain't that they're the top person from their phones or BlackBerry. You know, it's like you can say, oh, iPhone, nobody's going to want that. Everybody's going to want these blink, click, click, click screens. They're not going to want something smooth and flat. Touch, and then lo and behold, that's not necessarily the case.
Everything is touch. Everything is touch. Cars, inside of cars is all touch screen.
So you have to go and shift and move with the time.
They got vending machines now that are touchscene.
Oh, I can believe that. 100%.
It's just a screen, and then you just click on what you want.
And I just have to trust that what I want is behind that screen.
They show you a picture of it.
On. Yeah, I mean, but
comes up, and you
click it. Before you would actually see the thing sitting there to fall off. Now you're just like, okay, so when I push B2, then that's what should be coming up.
M&M's is coming out, or
exactly. Right, it won't even be B2. It'll just be a picture of M&M. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's what I had. So How Music Got Free, a TV series that I don't even know what that one was on. So
what was that on?
I am looking, and Paramount Plus.
Yep.
All right. So what you got, sis?
I got Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, they not like us.
Yeah.
Okay.
They not like each other.
They not like each other. Right.
So it started off with Kendrick Lamar being on Future song and him having a line that says, F the big three, there's just big me. And he was talking about the top three rappers that they were saying the new age top three rappers are Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Drake.
Yep.
And saying how, and he was just saying like, no, it's not three of them, it's just me. Like, I'm on top. Like, everybody else is below me. And Drake and J. Cole did not like it. J. Cole came back with a rebuttal. But he said he didn't really want to. He said it was people talking him into it.
Yeah, they were like, dude, you can't let this slide.
Yeah, and then after he did it, he was like, yo, I got to apologize. Like, I should have never done that. I need to stop listening to people and do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I shouldn't worry about sales. I should just worry about making good music. You know, I shouldn't take things personal because, you know, somebody's opinion is somebody's opinion. Then Drake just was going back and forth. And
every other day it felt like.
It was for a week. I think we got 3 songs in a week from each of them. And Drake does not cut Kendrick Lamar with the pen like Kendrick Lamar cut Drake. Not only did he cut Drake, but he cut the whole OVO family. And was like, so what's up with your boy? Like, you got Party Next Door, who's a drug addict now. He's always playing with his nose, so I guess he's on a lot of cocaine. You got Baca, who he's got a weird case, and he probably should not be around children. And then he's like, oh, and then you also should not be around children. And he's thinking about the Millie Bobby Brown thing. It's like, you know, you want to say like this is your best friend. She's 15. Yeah, that's a little. You're grooming her.
Well, suspect.
Yeah, and then it got to the point where once Kendrick Lamar dropped that, Drake just shut up, and he left Calabasas. He went back to
Canada?
Toronto. I'm sorry, Toronto, as you say. He went back to Toronto, and like people started joking. Was like, yeah, Drake put his house up for sale. He didn't really put his house up for sale. He just wasn't around his house. Then the fact that somebody supposedly broke into his house and security guard got shot or whatever. Then it was like, well, is that part of this? But I think that was something else. I think it was just somebody was like, oh, this is Drake house. Let's go rob it. But yeah, that whole thing was, I don't know if it was a stunt or if it was actually them having beef, but it
If it was a stunt,
it was great. It was
great.
We haven't had beef like that in so long.
No, you're
like
right.
not beef like that in so long for it not to be anybody dying at the end, and it's just genuinely back and forth music.
Mm-hmm.
Now the thing is, a lot of people are like, "Do you think they really don't like each other, or do you think that it is just part like a show?"
Yeah.
And then a lot of people are like, nah, they don't like each other.
I'm thinking they don't like each other because you can't cut that deep and like the person.
Exactly.
That's my thought. Like, keep it surface level if you're just doing it for show.
Yeah, because I mean, the way Kendrick Lamar came at Drake and was talking about his son, he made a whole song about his son. It was like, Aubrey, I'm sorry that your dad's just like a punk. And he's doing all of this, and you just have to grow up. He was like, if you want to learn how to be a man, just come see me, and I can help you out. Like, what?
Yeah.
Now, Drake is still in his feelings, and now he's suing Universal Music Group because he was like, oh, y'all made sure that his streams and everything was pushed forward besides me. No, his music was better, bro.
Mm-hmm. He can't believe it. Or,
What? His music was so much better than yours. Now, was it Kendrick Lamar's, like doing his verse on Future's song, and then once that all started, he was like, well, I'm about to drop an album, so this would be a perfect opportunity to go ahead and gas this up so then I could drop my album. Like, or do you, like, I don't know if it was actually somebody saying, hey, you got to come back at Drake because he's coming at you, or if it was like, hey, you know what? I got something to say at the Drake. Was it him being talked into it like J. Cole? Or was it him actually being like, nah, I'm going to go for you?
Yeah, so, I don't know what that right answer is. I mean,
we will never know. Yeah. But it's just like, thoughts like that, you never know, because right after he dropped an album.
Yep.
And he's on tour with SZA, and like, it's just awesome. He's going to be at Super Bowl.
Yeah, I heard that. He's going to be the Super Bowl.
Kendrick Lamar is that man now. Kendrick Lamar is what Big Daddy Kane was in the 80s. He is what,
I don't know. I think he's more like what LL was.
Oh, LL. Oh, yeah, I can see that.
I think he's more like what LL was, because I feel like it's someone who lived through it.
Okay, yeah, that's right, because I was just being
just
born.
Just a baby. But yeah, so, but I would say for sure more like a LL, because I can see him getting more acting roles, becoming a household name.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already got some crossover appeal, but like, I think like 50-year-old white parents and grandparents are going to be like, oh, Kendrick Lamar. Yeah. Like, I just saw him in XYZ, because they'll say that about LL right now. So, it's like, oh, that LL. He used to be a
household name, like Ice-T.
Yes, like Ice-T.
Yeah, but no, he has now become one of the biggest rappers that we have of this generation.
Yeah.
There are some others that are behind him. When they do interviews and they talk about like there's a podcast with Jay Valentine and Tank.
Okay.
And they call it R&B Money, and all they do is they get different people to come on. Okay. So they've had rappers on there, and they'd be like, all right, so you do your top 5 rappers, and they're always putting Kendrick Lamar in there.
Yeah. They're putting some Eric B. and Rakim in there.
No, because they're younger, so they don't even know who that is. That's their grandparents' music. You know that, right?
But what I'm saying is you're talking about all time. You can't just leave off the
all
people.
Time for them, like the music that they listen to. You know
garbage.
If you're gonna do all time, if you're gonna do all time of just music in general, you can't do that if you don't know the music. Like,
well, their parents should have taught them, and their grandparents should have taught them.
I don't know Rappin' Duke.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, but I don't know that song. I've heard it once in my life.
Seriously. Yeah. All right, we got to keep it moving. I can't.
Seriously.
Y'all should have seen my
the
face.
Rappin' Duke song? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. I've only heard it once.
Okay.
Yeah, only heard it once.
Well, I'm the Rappin' Duke. Okay. Anyway, I mean, that was it.
Everybody, go ahead and stream the Rappin' Duke.
The Rappin' Duke. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I had. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, that beef, that drama, that loveliness.
Yeah. All right. Well, my last one today is Bad Monkey on Apple Plus. Yeah, okay. I really liked that show. And these, I should go back and say, they're in no particular order, but they are just all things that this year were near and dear to me. So Bad Monkey, drama, 10-episode series on Apple TV, featuring Vince Vaughn as Andrew Yancey. It had in there his love interest, but also, like, he was a cop. and then like a private eye kind of cop. And then he kind of had this person who was like in the morgue doing autopsies. Her name's Natalie Martinez, who played Rosa, who ended up being a love interest. You had Bonnie Witt, who was actually his I guess girlfriend, who was already married, but he was hooking up with.
The side piece.
The side piece. Well, he didn't have a piece because he wasn't with Rosa when he was with Monty. Right. But she's Michelle Monaghan. You had Nick Stripling's character played by Rob Delaney. He is a guy that actually got Andrew Yancey involved in an investigation because they found his arm in the ocean. So when you find Nick Stripling's arm in the ocean and it looks like it basically got like chopped off, bitten off, whatever, you're thinking, oh, shark must have taken him and this is what's left over of him. But is he really dead? That's the situation that everybody has Yancey investigating. All of it is narrated by Scott Glenn. You know his voice. You've heard his voice 1,000 times. And he plays Jim Yancey. So it is Andrew's dad. Okay. Narrates the whole thing, which is kind of interesting. Like, why is he narrating it?
What has he been on? What is he?
Scott Glenn? Let me see what he looks like. Been, he played in all the Shaolin movies and things like that. The grasshopper.
Yeah.
Do this grasshopper. Yeah, so he's 85 years old. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, he does not look like a spring chicken.
No, he doesn't. But I mean, he's in Dirty Harry movies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So he's been in a little bit of everything. But this is him playing Andrew Yancey's dad. You have Zach Braff in here. So he is the one who's in all the T-Mobile commercials dancing around with the black guy. You don't know from Scrubs?
Oh, yeah.
So him. Okay, so Zach Braff is in here. So he plays a defunct doctor who's high on drugs most of the time. So he lost his license because of the fact that he got addicted to the drugs he was prescribing. And then I'll talk about a couple more people. You have John Ortiz. He plays Rogelio. Thank you.
J's or H's.
It's a G.
Oh, a G. Just like Geraldo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but he plays Yancey's former partner, who's still a detective, not doing the PI work, but trying to pull Yancey into different projects that he's working on. Alex Moffat, he is from Saturday Night Live. He plays Evan Shook, who is Yancey's neighbor, who basically you're trying to keep this beautiful Key West area looking amazing. And this guy comes and builds a huge monstrosity on the ocean, blocking people's views. It's like a yellow house. It's just all obnoxious, and Yancey basically wants to shoot it up, catch it on fire, do whatever, like put skunks in it, like whatever he can do to make this guy not want to finish his house. And lastly, you have the Dragon Queen. Because part of this is also on an island, and you have Jodie Turner-Smith, who plays the Dragon Queen. Oh, and I have to say Neville Stafford is Ronald Pete. And so long story short, because we're running out of time, but what ends up happening is that Rogelio pulls in Yancey to look into why this guy's arm got found. So the arm's on ice in Rogelio's car. Like, hey, dude, you going to come and do this? And Yancey's just sitting there drinking his beer, looking at the ocean. Like, why would I even want to go back into doing all this kind of stuff? Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, stressful.
But of course, he ends up saying, okay, let me look at the arm in the trunk. So then he realizes like, oh, wait a minute. Something about this looks weird. There was a watch. You could see that there was a tan from where a watch was, but you don't see the watch. So he is like, that's kind of suspicious because the shark's not just going to like pull off a watch. Like, where's the watch? Or did he just not wear it that day? Like, was it stolen? Like, what's going on with that? So long story short, and his wife is Eve Stripling. So Yancey meets with Eve, and even Eve, the way she's acting seems a little suspect. Like, was she involved in this? So then he gets deeper and deeper into the investigation. Also, the Yancey connects with the daughter of the victim, and he's like, okay, she, is devastated about her father being gone, hates her stepmother, so that's another reason why we should care that the stepmother is involved. And it's just like this whole narrative of all these things going on between Miami, where the arm showed up, and Key West, where Yancey lives. But then also you have on the island, the Dragon Queen and Neville having this whole other situation going on where this oligarch is trying to purchase all this land on the island and trying to knock down regular people's homes and build like this whole resort and all this kind of stuff. So Neville wants to stop all this from happening. He has a monkey who's on his shoulder. Bad monkey. But the monkey's actually pretty good. Yeah. But anyway, so he has this monkey, and you have these people who are very much like witch doctors, which is where the Dragon Queen comes in. So Neville is like, look, if I give you money, if I do this, if I give y'all my monkey, like, can y'all at least take care of this oligarch that's trying to take over everything and get rid of him? However, by any means necessary. I don't care what that means. Use your powers and make sure he just goes away. And so that's a whole other story. And then it shows how the two stories kind of merge into one. Okay, and so that is really the part that I liked, because at first I was looking at it like, well, if this is going on over here and this is going on over there, why am I looking at two different stories here? And then you start to realize how it comes together in a really good way. It's funny, so it's like a dramedy. So it's got funny parts, it's got serious parts, it's got death, and it's murder, and it's, I mean, of course, you got the arm in the first 5 minutes, you know, so there's that. But it was really, really good. Yeah, everybody did an amazing job with their acting. And, you know, Vince Vaughn's going to be Vince Vaughn. Like, I don't think he's a huge actor per se. No, he's always himself. Twinkle, 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 twinkle. So
Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler's always funny. Adam Sandler.
Yes. Yeah. And so, but I personally don't mind it in this instance. And I really liked Bad Monkey. So there you go. So...
I got one more I want to do really quick.
Go? Yeah, absolutely.
All right. My last one is Monsters, the Menendez story. We got to talk about it.
We got to talk about that. Yep, we got to.
All right. So just really quick. You already know the Menendez story. If you don't, you're going to have to Google it. The kids killed the parents.
Yep.
It was a lot of molestation for, 12, 14 years.
That's what they said.
Yeah. And then it was... it was a lot of back and forth. The kids never felt like they were worthy, and they were definitely affluent, but I never felt like they were good enough for their parents, so they kept doing stupid stuff over and over again, trying to get like attention or whatever.
The father was definitely...
Yeah, the father was definitely the issue.
A tyrant.
Yeah. All the traumatic things that happened to them, how they ended up just snapping, and because it'd be premeditated, because they went and got shotguns before the day before they were going to kill their parents or whatever. But then how it goes from all of that to now the Menendez is trying to get out. In like real time, they're trying to get out. Yeah, and a lot of people are like, I have no problem with it. Like, they had a problem with their parents. They had a problem with the world.
The world, everybody.
They weren't serial killers. It was like, these people are hurting us. It doesn't matter if they're parents or not. We just got to take them out. So that's all I wanted.
But no, it went deep, and I definitely could see why you wanted to talk about that, because if people aren't familiar with the story, and for some people, like at my age, we lived through that too. And so we know what all transpired and how back then you did not believe that they were molested at all. You just knew that was their scapegoat excuse for trying to get off for killing their parents, period. Like, it wasn't even a thing of hearing about molestation from your parents at that stage of your, of the 90s.
Like, But then also it's like, but you're a teenager. How are you going to say that he just slept with you 6 months ago? It's like people being like, you could have said no if that was a thing. It's like,
it was a lot of judgment then, and then knowing how things have come out now, and it's like when you know better, you do better, you understand things from a different level and perspective, it just all makes more sense. So I'm glad that you brought that one up.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens if they do like a retrial, and if because they're for parole now, right?
They probably wouldn't do another trial. They would just decide whether or not they are eligible.
Whatever it is, like I guess an appeal for parole.
They could do an appeal of their sentence, and then they could just go up for parole in front of the board and see if they get released. So
that's
there you go.
Is,
all right, everybody. Well, that is episode 150 for Sestra-Tainment. Everybody have an amazing week, and we'll be back in the new year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year. Bye.